I'm Lizzie, and I'm here to de-influence you. There's a trend going around the internet right now where creators are de-influencing their followers. And that's because there's been a lot of creators and influencers who've really glamorized certain aspects of their lifestyle, whatever they're promoting kind of thing. Whether they're traveling the world in a schoolie, or they're a stay-at-home mom, or they're farming, whatever, there's always the ugly side to whatever you're doing that a lot of creators and influencers don't show, because it's more fun to dream and visualize the best parts of those kind of things. But the reason that there's so many people de-influencing now is because it's more relatable and it's less discouraging to the people who are trying to achieve such big goals. And that just reminds me of why I started filming myself, basically. I realized one day that all of the creators that I like to follow in the horse world, whether they rode English or Western or whatever, they had everything immaculate and perfect, and it was such a dream, but it's so unrealistic and so unrelatable. But I realized it was making me feel really insecure about, well, not only was it super unrelatable, but it made me feel really insecure about the conditions our horses were living in and my daily routines and stuff. Like I wasn't doing enough, like they weren't getting enough products, I wasn't rich enough, I didn't own the nice things, and like it makes you feel like you need to live up to this expectation of what a real horse person is, when that's not true at all. But as fun as it is to fantasize over somebody else's dream ranch, like the immaculately clean stalls and the massive indoor riding arenas and outdoor riding arenas and their super fancy rigs and all of the brand new tack and constantly getting all of the newest apparel and expensive, like you can make horse riding the most expensive thing if you want it to be, but that's not realistic and not relatable for probably more than 80% of the equestrian population. But the reason I started sharing my journey with my horses is because I felt like it would be more relatable to the common equestrian, and you don't have to feel guilty about your horse not having everything immaculately clean and perfect and the most expensive things. So I'm gonna de-influence all of y'all equestrians because I'm tired of feeling insecure about my lack of cash and fancy things. The equestrian world is very high class, and if you don't have all of the nice things, so expensive tall horses, or if you haven't won a bunch of money on your horse, or if you don't have or ride at a really fancy facility, then you can't talk, blah blah blah. If you haven't trained X amount of horses, you can't talk, blah blah blah. It's all quantity over quality, which is not true at all when it comes to horse training. Quality over quantity is way more important and has a way bigger effect. I forget what the competition is called, but the guy that won last 2 years had only trained 20 horses prior to competing. And everybody else that competes and has won has trained thousands of other horses. But this guy has perfected his methods so well that 2 years in a row he was able to win with only 20 horses under his belt, which is extremely impressive, and it just goes to prove that it's quality over quantity. So I'm basically just mentioning that because it's part of the Western mindset that you can't talk unless you have trained X amount of horses, whatever. So I'm coming here to de-influence you and make you feel better about your situation and your training abilities and your everything. So let me de-influence you. This is my riding arena. That's my riding arena. We built this arena like 8 years ago. We dug every hole by hand, we planted every post, we bought a poly tape, we bought insulators, we bought a gate. Tyler and I spent a lot of time, late nights, fighting mosquitoes, putting in the insulators and making sure we did it all correctly. And we even had a solar panel hooked up to the poly tape to electrify it because we were unable to connect it to the rest of our electric fences. But turns out we didn't install the poly tape super correctly. I wasn't able to get a good enough shock through all of the 4 strands of poly tape from just the solar powered fence zapper, and the cows chewed through it and they chewed the insulators. And once the horses realized it was not electrified, they were scratching on it, rubbing against it. Stella was just stepping through it and it got demolished, destroyed. And so I have given up. I thought about trying to spend a bunch more money and making it an arena again, but it's not worth it. I'm going to be moving out soon and there's nobody here interested in maintaining the arena, so it would just be a waste. And it doesn't even have proper footing in there anyways. It's just dirt that we till over once a year if I'm lucky. But that brings me to my second thing, and that is the way we tilt our arena. Obviously, it would be super nice if we had a nice big fancy tractor with a nice big fancy pole behind where we could drag the ground, make it look nice and pretty with nice footing and make it safe for the horses and blah, 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 which is not realistic for me right now, but it's not gonna keep me from figuring something out. So a couple years ago, my family bought some property across the street from us, and we happened to find a piece of really old equipment in the woods, and it still works to drag the arena. And we've pulled it with an ATV, but more recently, we've been pulling it with a skid steer that we were lucky enough to be able to afford last year, which has been broken down most of the year, but that's besides the point. It's by all means not perfect, and there's plenty of time where I'm not able to ride in it because it's not really safe. And we just had massive amounts of rain, so it's not even safe for me to ride right now. But that's just what I have to deal with. That's reality. It's probably relatable. Not everybody has a fancy indoor riding arena or outdoor riding arena. And yeah, but dealing with tough situations makes you stronger. Am I right? These are my barrel racing barrels. They're just pickle barrels. They're plastic, but I like them. They don't hurt when I hit my knee against them. It's cool. They do blow away in the wind though, especially when I don't have fencing in here. These are my jump rails. They're just PVC pipes. I have had people tell me that using PVC pipe for jumps can be dangerous because they can shatter if the horse steps on them or kicks them or something. But I've had these for over 8 years now and have never had an issue. Plus, regular poles for jumping are extremely ridiculously expensive. So yeah, I'm gonna find an alternative, and using wooden logs for poles would be more dangerous for the horse because a more solid surface that they could hit and injure themselves on. So honestly, PVC pipe is the way to go. My horse has stepped on them, has kicked them around. They've been in the horse pen for ever since I've gotten them, and not a single one has cracked, shattered, broken, snapped. They're still intact. It's cool. This is my arena gate, which is extremely necessary right now. I use it all the time. Sarcasm. But it's had many a butt rub against it, and it's obviously rusty and it's probably unable to open now. So cool. I love wasting money. Definitely something you like to do when you don't have a lot of it. This is the current state of our horse pen, which after a couple days of rain, it looks amazing. Sarcasm. Definitely not pretty, definitely not influencer worthy, but it's realistic and probably relatable. Because if you've owned horses for more than 6 months, you've experienced mud, and if you say you haven't, you're lying. So don't feel guilty if there's mud in your horse pen. I used to be really self-conscious and insecure about the fact that horses experience mud once in a while, but it's part of owning large animals when you aren't a millionaire. Also, the horses go on pasture every single day. They only come in this pen during night and they get their hay. So they're not even living full-time in it. And also, it's actually not bad for your horse to walk through wet ground. It's actually good for your horse to experience wet ground once in a while, especially during the hot summers. It prevents your horse's hooves from drying out and cracking. So yeah, not ideal, not perfect, relatable. These are our horses' shelters. That's all they get. But you wanna know something? The only time of year the horses use the shelters is during fly season. And it doesn't matter the weather at all. If it's blizzarding, raining, hailing, super windy, all of them combined, they don't go inside of them. I've realized that a lot of equestrians freak out when their horse gets rained on, which doesn't math in my brain. I'm not gonna judge, just my horses enjoy a bit of rain. They like the rain, especially when it's hot out and the bugs are bad. Some rain is very relaxing, relieving for them. So yeah, they get rained on. I will mention though that we do have a little barn with a very little stall in it as an emergency backup in case we have an injury or a situation where a horse needs to be stalled, rested, whatever, just in case. It's never used, so there is that, but we do have it in case. The end of our hose got frozen into a block of ice last winter and snapped off, so I'm currently using a hose that doesn't have an end on it. This is an old cast iron tub that is extremely heavy, and we were using it as a water trough for the horses for a very long time until we were unable to get the drain to stop leaking. So we downgraded to a smaller rubber tub, which is so much nicer. I don't know why we were using this piece of junk. This is my tack room. Just kidding. It's a root cellar shed. Let me show you. Now, I actually quite like this little corner of the root cellar, my little tack corner. At least this part looks somewhat organized. But things get really dirty in here. This building is not very well weatherproof, so we do get snow and rain in here, lots of mice activity and stuff. So my tack gets very dirty in here, and it also gets rather abused because there's a lot of other stuff in here that you can't see in the camera right now that gets thrown around in here, moved around, and it's rather difficult to keep this looking nice, clean, organized. My brother did build these saddle racks, which is really nice, and my sister built this rack for me for a birthday present, which is also really nice. So it is kind of cute. It's also very dirty, so not super cute. And I probably should also show you everything that's on the ground that doesn't look super cute and is not organized, and definitely why the family is upset that I have so much tack, which is not really my fault, I will say. But hopefully within the next 6 months, my tack room will look very different because, well, let's just say I have some building projects going on right now. So you might want to subscribe if you want to see more tack room content. This is my horse trailer that I spent $1,900 on like 6 years ago. And as you can clearly see, it hasn't been able to move within 2 years because I've been busy, haven't been able to go showing, so trailer doesn't get to move. Frankly, owning horses and being a horse rider is not just all about showing and making money on your horse. So there's that. But it's a little 2-horse straight load that most horses hate. And when I got it, all the paint on the inside was peeling and it looked terrible, and a lot of the boards were rotten out and stuff. So I fixed it and made it look nice, replaced all the boards, and I made a couple videos on it and I posted it on my YouTube channel like 5 years ago now. I don't know. I'll link them up here or up here, wherever they end up. I don't know. You know what? This is realistic. It's not attractive. It's not cool. It's not rich looking. It's cute. But a lot of equestrians definitely feel insecure about owning this type of trailer because it's not as attractive as some expensive trailers. But am I insecure about it? No. I'm like, no. I mean, well, I'm going to paint it cool once I have a shop to paint it in. So stay tuned for that. Also, I'm not even able to tie my horse to my trailer right now because brother's jet skis. Yay, cool, fun. So now that I've shown you everything that is definitely not perfect and some things that I've definitely been insecure about before, let's talk about some things, shall we? Like feeding times. Like, people like to really overcomplicate horses, and you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go feed your horses, otherwise they will die or they're colic or whatever. It's definitely not true. The only thing I try to maintain when I'm feeding the horses is consistency. So I always try to feed them 12 hours apart. The only reason horses need to be fed at 5 o'clock in the morning is if you feed them 5 o'clock at night. But if you feed your horse 10 o'clock at night and then you feed them 5 o'clock in the morning, there's going to be a massive gap from 5 to 10 where your horse is going to have a long time without eating. So it's way more important that you have 12 to 12 or even 3 feedings in a day if you want to be more particular about it. Also depends how much you feed your horse, or if your horse is just on pasture, or like it definitely varies through season to season. Like in the winter, I'm definitely more diligent about feeding times because obviously hay is all they get to eat. In the summer, they can forage more, they find more things to eat in their pen, and they like to chew on trees, and they also get to go on pasture all day, so it's definitely not as important in the summer to keep your feedings as consistent. But in the winter, I'm definitely trying to be more consistent with my feeding times, and it's not always about getting up early and feeding them, it's more about making sure you're consistent with 12 to 12, you know. Also, most horses do not need like alfalfa hay and different types of grains and stuff. You only really need to be picky and diligent about your horse's feed if they are senior or hard to keep weight on. Horses do not need tons of different grains, feed, alfalfa and rich hay and really rich pasture and stuff. Like, horses will thrive on a wild grass, weed, pasture, and hay. They definitely don't need all of the extra grains and rich and expensive hays that a lot of influencers and rich equestrians will just give their horses because it makes them feel better about being able to do more for your horse, basically. But you're really not doing any favors for your horse by giving them a really rich, sugary diet. I just want to say that the point of this video is definitely not to just complain about everything I have and point out all of the negatives, because that's definitely definitely not the point. I'm extremely grateful that I even have horses, and I've been able to have them since I was young, thanks to my parents, and they're even able to be on the same property as me, which is incredible. I don't have to lease out a spot in a barn and hope that somebody else takes care of my horse for me, and I'm not able to maintenance them the way I would like to. Like, being able to have them on my property and be able to be their main caretaker is so good, and I would hate to have it any other way. I'm grateful that I have land to ride on, and I've had the opportunity to be able to grow up with horses and learn them. I have it good. But I do not own this land. I do not own all of the horses. Stella is the only horse that is technically mine. Again, I'm currently in the process of building and working towards moving out. So scenery will be changing in the next, hopefully, 6 months for you guys and for me. So that's cool. But just because I'm here to de-influence you, I don't want to make it look like I have it rough, because I know that there's a lot of equestrians that have it a lot worse than me, and I don't have it bad. It's just there's a lot of high standards for equestrians, and we have a lot of expectations to rise to, and we have a lot of influencers that make us jealous and insecure about what we have. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big like and subscribe. You can go follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and I'll see you guys next week Sunday. Bye.